Bitcoin has had a scary good run over the past few weeks, with haunting ETF approval news and price action that can make you scream. Today's Bitcoin update has a Halloween theme, so grab your costume and join us on a trick-or-treat treasure hunt for everything Bitcoin. Futures, ETF approvals, price action, mining finally moved to the US. Yep, Bitcoin's got a broomstick and it's flying high. By the way, don't feel too sorry for the Bitcoin bears. They may be an endangered species at this point, but there's still hope for them as an ironic Halloween costume. So let's take a look at what's new and what's coming up next for the biggest haunted house on the blockchain, Bitcoin. Let's get it. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, home of the Bit Squad, the largest and greatest crypto community in all the interwebs. My name is Ben. Every day on this channel, I show you how to make money in crypto. If you like money and crypto, make sure to hit that subscribe button. In this video, we break down the latest news and updates for Bitcoin. Last week, we saw approvals for two Bitcoin futures exchange trade funds, or ETFs, ProShares and Valkyrie. Futures ETF is a regulated financial product that gives investors a way to be indirectly exposed to the Bitcoin market. The shares can be bought and sold like stocks and are underpinned by Bitcoin future contracts, a type of derivative trading where two parties agree to buy or sell Bitcoin for a predefined price at a later date, no matter what the price ends up being on that day. Although this futures ETF approval is good news, it's not the same as having a Bitcoin ETF approved by the SEC. Bitcoin ETFs are backed by Bitcoin, while futures ETFs are backed by derivatives. Still great news that the futures ETFs were approved. It allows more people to become exposed to Bitcoin, and it shows that there could be a roadmap ahead for more ETFs. Speaking of approvals, give this channel yours by smashing up that like button. Helps out the channel and helps spread the news that there's no trick to investing in Bitcoin. In fact, stacking sats is a treat. ProShares Futures ETF got its approval on October 18th and started trade the next day on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker BITO, or BITO. ProShares filed for their strategy ETF this summer and has its funds linked to the futures traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or CME. Last week, Valkyrie's Bitcoin Futures ETF was certified for listing on the NASDAQ exchange, which will make it the second Bitcoin ETF to launch in the United States. Traders are already going batty for the fund, with CME seeing record open interest in Bitcoin Futures ETFs. The amount of money locked in Bitcoin futures contracts on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange surged to record highs on Friday in wake of the approvals. The dollar value of open interest was $3.64 billion on Friday, a figure that has almost doubled in 1 month. Glassnode recently revealed that the number of outstanding contracts on the CME has increased by 60%. Although we've known about this for a long time, Grayscale also recently tweeted its plans to apply for a spot ETF for its already massive Bitcoin fund. Grayscale's communications director recently stated that the company will file for the ETF once the SEC isn't spooked by Bitcoin ETFs, and there's more evidence of their comfort with the underlying Bitcoin market. Even though right now the SEC seems as comfortable as Lurch from the Addams family when it comes to crypto, Grayscale believes that comfort would likely come in the form of a Bitcoin futures ETF being deemed effective. The roadmap to full Bitcoin ETF approval is definitely in view, and we're looking forward to news and updates on how all the ETFs pending approval with the SEC will be handled, and how existing funds will get around needing the approvals in the meantime. Canada already has ETFs, and ARK Invest is considering giving investors indirect exposure to Bitcoin by allowing the fund to gain exposure to crypto assets through Canadian Bitcoin ETFs. As it stands, ARKK ETF is exposed to Grayscale Bitcoin Trust and other companies that made major investments in Bitcoin, such as Coinbase. Adding exposure to Canadian ETFs would make the fund even more Bitcoin focused. We may not know how the ETF news and pending approvals will play out, but we do know that Bitcoin is finally getting the credibility it deserves. Yes, Bit Squad, the road ahead is clear for frightening gains. I won't say I told you so, I'll just settle for an evil laugh. On this channel, we've said for a long time the United States needs to get in the Bitcoin mining game in a big way if they want a competitive edge in crypto. Well, never say never, because in an eerie turn of events, being helped along by China's Bitcoin mining ban, the US has now overtaken China as the world's biggest Bitcoin mining hub. That was quick. According to data from the Cambridge Bitcoin Electricity Consumption Index, the United States now has 35% of the global Bitcoin network hash rate, followed by Kazakhstan, China, and Russia. Where are Bitcoin miners flocking to? States with low energy costs, of course. Even with its lack of energy reserves and days-long blackouts last winter, Texas has some of the world's lowest energy prices, with a growing portion coming from renewable energy like wind. Deregulated power grids let customers decide who provides the power, and the political leaders in Texas are notoriously pro-crypto. It's a fantastic combination when it comes to attracting Bitcoin miners who need energy to power mining computations, politicians who support Bitcoin mining. Another attractive destination for miners is upstate New York. Its cooler temperatures, reliable energy grid, and renewable energy sources are making it a potential destination for mining operations. New York gets most of its power from hydropower facilities that operate on the Niagara River, and it's gotten the attention of nearly 20% of Bitcoin miners in what's being called the Great Mining Migration. There have been some hiccups along the way. Some New York State government officials, no surprise, have given Bitcoin mining their best resting witch face. They want to take the stress off the power grid that saw a spike in energy prices when local mining began, and they found that the job creation promised by Bitcoin mining didn't materialize into much. Still, New York State politicians like Colin Reed, former mayor of Plattsburgh, New York, ultimately believe that crypto is the future, and all that's needed is a little policy tweaking to make mining beneficial for everyone. Bitcoin is continuing on its upward trajectory to 100K, and it has mainstream interest and institutional investment under its spell. In the past, the mainstream media saw Bitcoin as a Halloween horror story. Coverage was vague, elusive, and riddled with words like fraud, scam, and ransom. Now, Bitcoin is discussed as frequently on mainstream financial media as any other asset, and many prominent institutions and investors hold Bitcoin. Both Bitcoin and Ethereum have tickers on CNBC, and Fidelity just released a series of slides on Bitcoin to educate its investors. The SEC has a long lineup of Bitcoin-backed ETFs awaiting approval, which would be a huge price catalyst if the approvals went through. Mainstream investors who want to use a Roth IRA or other tax-free method of investing can buy Bitcoin in a way they're used to, and this means more people with more exposure to Bitcoin, and logically, price action would follow suit. According to Plan B's stock-to-flow model on how the Bitcoin price will move over time, we're back in the blue. This model shows the price having another potential leg up in the medium to short term, and the price surge we've seen since the mini bear market, followed by futures ETF approval, has found us some new support over 60K. We are projecting new all-time highs in the near future, with Bitcoin seeing its best weekly close in history. So don't forget to keep stacking Satoshis when you're making your crypto allocations. Stacking sats may feel like you're moving at a zombie pace, too slow and not really getting anywhere. But over time, dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin can leave you with a Bitcoin stash so thrilling it would terrify even the most monstrous trick or treating haul. Booyah. That's all I got. Be blessed. Way out.